Hi guys, so I just wanted to show you this interview with Michael Gove, and Michael Gove strangely says that the British government are not going to break the law after all. And if there's anyone at fault, of course it's the EU, it's not actually the British government. Now just consider for a moment while you watch this interview that Michael Gove is tipped as someone who could eventually replace Boris Johnson as Prime Minister. So just think about that as you listen to this interview.
We left the EU, as everyone knows, on the 31st of January. The Prime Minister got Brexit done. We're now in a different stage. We're talking about a free trade agreement with the EU. One of the things, however, though, is that as those talks have gone on, there are things that the EU should have been doing, which it committed to do, in order to make sure that we could have the free flow of food into the EU, subject to certain checks.
Okay, so you notice here he said the free flow of food into the EU, and then he made some sort of noise. Now, maybe it was a bit difficult for you to understand what he said. Let's just let him say it again. Maybe you can try and understand what he said.
EU, subject to certain checks, in due course.
What he said was subject to certain checks. So he's talking about goods moving from into the EU and subject to certain checks. Now, this is actually the core problem here. He's dismissing it. He actually said it very quickly so that people watching this probably wouldn't pick up on it. This is the problem. This is the core problem here. Let me explain. Certain goods are moving from Great Britain into Northern Ireland. And then there's the possibility that some of those goods will be sold in the Republic of Ireland, which is part of the EU. Now, these goods have to be subjected to checks. Which goods they are within the withdrawal agreement has to be decided by both sides. The British government and the EU have to sit down and decide which goods are going to be checked. What Boris Johnson's government is doing at the moment by introducing this new bill is to give the power of deciding which goods are going to be checked to his ministers. So there will be no consultation with the EU. So this is breaking the withdrawal agreement. Michael Gove is sort of dismissing it, yeah, just some checks or whatever, that's it. No, this is the core problem here. He's dismissing the entire problem, and and of course the way he said it is to hide the problem from the public.
The EU haven't been keeping their side of the bargain on that question, and that raises...
The EU haven't been keeping their side of the bargain. You signed an agreement with the EU. The EU signed an agreement with you. What part have they not held? What part have they not upheld? Boris Johnson, Michael Gove, Brexiteers continually pump out this rhetoric that the EU have broken the withdrawal agreement. The EU haven't respected the withdrawal agreement. But they don't actually give any examples. Isn't that telling?
Doubts and concerns more broadly. No, we want a deal. We hope that we will get a free trade agreement between the UK and the EU. I think it's in everyone's interests. But we've got to make sure that we have an insurance policy if the EU aren't as cooperative as we hope they will. The legal position was made clear by the Attorney General. We're operating within the rule of law.
So when the Northern Ireland Secretary said, yes, we're breaking the law, and Michael Gove says, we're not breaking the law, then is the Northern Ireland Secretary wrong, or is he telling lies? Or is Michael Gove wrong, or is Michael Gove telling lies? Which is it?
It is the case, however, that we do need to take insurance policies. We hope that we don't need to implement the provisions that exist within the UK Internal Market Bill. But why are we bringing this bill forward? Because it is part of implementing the withdrawal agreement and the Northern Ireland Protocol. It's part of making sure that we can continue to have unfettered access for goods from Northern Ireland, from businesses in Northern Ireland, so they can continue to benefit from being part of the United Kingdom.
Now, Michael Gove is telling a lie here. This is a perfect example of Michael Gove being dishonest. Michael Gove said, let's just hear what he said once again, just to be clear.
continue to have unfettered access for goods and the Northern Ireland Protocol. It's part of making sure that we can continue to have unfettered access for goods from Northern Ireland, from businesses in Northern Ireland, so they can continue to benefit from being part of the United Kingdom.
That was not the problem. That has never been the problem. What Michael Gove is saying here, and he's being dishonest here, he's saying that we want to maintain unfettered access for Northern Ireland goods going into Great Britain. And we need to introduce this bill in order to do so. That's not necessary. Within the withdrawal agreement, there's no problem with goods moving from Northern Ireland to Great Britain. The problem is goods moving from Great Britain to Northern Ireland that could be sold in the Republic of Ireland. That's the problem. Michael Gove is ignoring the real problem, and he's inventing a new problem and saying this is the solution to this new problem that doesn't actually exist.
I think that one of the arguments is by your actions. Some people have said, "Oh, you're making it more difficult to secure agreements with other countries." Well, we've just secured an agreement with Japan. Some people say, "Oh, well, outside the EU, you won't be."
So you're saying that we were threatening to break the law, and Japan said, "Look, we'll do a trade deal with you." You've threatened to break the law. You haven't broken the law yet. There's a difference between saying we're considering breaking the law and we have broken the law. Japan has signed a trade deal with you because you haven't broken the law. You haven't broken it yet. The bill hasn't passed through Parliament yet. So you haven't broken the law. That's for the same reason that the EU are still negotiating with you. It's the same reason that the EU haven't imposed fines on you. Because you haven't broken the law. You haven't broken international law. Does Michael Gove not understand the difference between saying I'm going to break the law and actually breaking the law? It's serious to say I'm considering breaking the law. But it's a completely different thing to actually break the law. So Michael Gove saying, well, we have a trade deal with Japan. That means that we are trustworthy. We have it, breaking the law doesn't come into it. No, it doesn't come into it in a sense because you haven't broken the law yet. Japan are hoping that you're not going to break the law. That's why they signed an agreement with you. Because you haven't broken the law yet. Now you're saying we haven't broken the law. So then the whole argument of, well, breaking the law and still signing agreements with us is irrelevant. Let me just take a step back here and explain what Michael Gove's illogical argument is. Michael Gove is saying some people are saying that the UK is breaking the law. I've told you that they haven't broken the law. But look, Japan is signing an agreement with us even though we said that we're going to break the law. Does that make any sense to anyone? Maybe it makes sense to Brexiteers, but it doesn't make sense to me. Now, as I said from the beginning of this video, this guy is likely to replace Boris Johnson as Prime Minister. Now, it seems to be between him and Rishi Sunak, who's the Chancellor. But intelligent money seems to be on Michael Gove. So Michael Gove is fitting right in Boris Johnson's shoes of lying to the public, misleading them, hiding the truth, and attempting to come across as someone who's upfront with the facts. This is disgraceful, and once again, it's another example of Michael Gove being Michael Gove. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot. I want to say a big thank you to all of my patrons. You ensure that this channel continues to exist. I'm eternally grateful for all of your support. If you join Patreon, you will receive instant access to our Discord server, where we have both audio and video chats. You can chat with me and other patrons, where we discuss important and non-important issues. Becoming a patron per month costs about the same as a large coffee, so why not check it out?